Okay, so we are recording with Michael, and we're here to talk to Michael. Michael is a really dear old friend of mine, and I'm just so happy to reconnect and talk about his amazing work in the world. I've got some great questions for him, and what an opportunity for all of you to receive some of this unbelievable wisdom and the depth of this man. He's just a beautiful being. So, Michael Paul Stevens, my first.
Hello.
Hello.
I thought you were talking about someone else. You say all those nice things about me doing it.
Totally. I could say a lot more. Those are just a few.
You're very kind, very kind. Thank you very much.
No, I'm not kind. I'm authentically honest about you.
You're lovely.
Yeah. I mean, because I've seen you grow in so much wisdom.
Yeah.
I've seen you get older and grow. We're both older. No. We're so much older than when we were younger.
No, you have.
And
you've seen a lot of my evolution. Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
And you've been involved in it.
Yeah. And this is, it's really nice for us to have this historical record now and talk about it and share it with everyone. So the first question is, can you talk about your latest book and your latest book and the main message that you're sharing with the world?
Yeah, I'll talk. I think I've mentioned the one that I've published most recently, but I'm working on some other things. But the one I've published most recently is a book called Why Are We Here? And this was basically a way of putting together everything I'd thought about this subject up to this point in my life. I've written another couple of books that touch on this subject, but I thought I'd put it all down into one with this idea of why are we here? Because everyone really asks that question in some shape or form. And I just wanted to really show people the awesomeness actually of creation and how we are a part of that from a physical point of view. So I talk about the physics of it, but also the metaphysics, because I don't think you can separate those two things. Science tries to separate those two things, but to understand why we're here, those things need to come back together. We can't just work with our left or our right brain. We've got to have a whole brain approach. So this idea of why are we here talks about things like particle physics, the wave, electrons and protons and neutrons, and how that aggregates into matter, and how that matter aggregates into atoms and aggregates into planets, and those planets produce life, and that is not just an accident. There is a reason behind that, so that organisms like ourselves and other organisms on the Earth and on other planets can experience this reality. And in this reality, there's almost a message. There's a reason being projected at us, that if we spend the time and the effort and we overcome some of our fabricated limits and boundaries, we can explore that message and answer it inside ourselves. And this is the beauty of this whole idea. We are here really as products of the universe to explore the universe and to uncover its secrets. So for me, it was an amazing journey to write that book and just to really simplify it in my own mind, and hopefully for other people just to see that.
It sounds really amazing. Does that is that really related to you in some way? Is there a personal message for yourself through this as well?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I don't write anything for other people, to be honest. You think I'm out here writing for an audience? You've got to be joking during that. I'm writing it because I don't know the answer when I start out writing. I read a quote from George R. Martin, the guy who does Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And he said he was asked, "Oh, do you have a plot all set out in a book?" He said, "Why would I do that? I wouldn't have the enthusiasm to write it if I knew what was going to happen." And a lot of that is true with what I write. I write the question, why are we here? And I thought, well, I want to answer that for myself. I want that to be easy to understand. And so a lot of what I write is about that personal exploration, being able to answer things in the intellectual way, so I can then apply it somehow through my practice or through my meditation or through some practical way. Because if it's just intellectual, it doesn't work. I've learned that through you and through other people over the last 20 years, really. It has to be from both sides of the brain.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand what that is. It's our journey, isn't it? You're sharing your journey. It's always about us. It's always about, and right now it's about you and your journey and the amazingness that you're bringing with that. Yeah, I think that's really interesting about you know, how everything comes together, and
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
it's
I think
there's no separateness, is there?
no, no, there isn't. And I think sometimes we have this idea, people talk about, okay, we're spiritual people and we have this spiritual journey, and we try to, we separate it from the normal processes of life, but everything is spiritual. We just break that down into business, or we break it down into family, or we break it down. The whole idea of life is this one meditation that we're doing, and we can choose to participate in that mindfully. We can choose to participate that in mindlessly. It's up to us, and there's no success or failure in that. It's just a choice that we make as we go through the journey. And what I've learned, Dorinda, is that you have to be selfish about your practice. And I mean that again from a spiritual point of view. It's not egotistical, but you have to put yourself first. Because if you're not creating a better me, a better self, if you're not evolving the person that you are day after day, then the people around you suffer as well. And I personally have given my family plenty of experience of suffering. So I know what I mean when I'm saying that. That if I'm not happy, if I'm not in a good place, if I'm not being mindful, if I'm not practicing the compassion that I talk about, then it's a mess for everyone around me. So I have to be the focus of my life from a selfless point of view, being selfish. So it's a kind of a strange thing to explain to people. But for me, spirituality is a selfless process.
Mm,
That
mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, I really like that. Selfish and selfless. You know, both of them go together so well.
Do
And
they're
it's a
not they're
funny,
not exclusive of one another, that's for
yeah.
sure.
And you know how we do that with our children. With children are brought up to be, to you respect others and to not be selfish. You know,
Yeah,
that's such an old, you know, it's 20 years down the track or whatever, but it's still
absolutely.
being part of behavioral, you know, patterns with children about, you know, showing respect and being
Totally,
respectful. But
totally.
yet what you're saying is so true about being able to be so selfish, then you are selfless to to the group, to the family, to the
Exactly.
community, to the world, right?
How many people do you meet? I mean, we do similar work, you a lot more than me, but when I do that work, how often is the root of somebody's issues self-love?
Yeah,
Every time,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Every single
yeah,
time. And where does that come from? Where does that come from? It comes from the patterns that you're describing.
yeah,
And we have not given ourselves enough time to look at ourselves and go, well, actually, you're perfect. But sometimes we're a perfect mess. And that's okay too.
mm,
And that's okay too. Because as soon as we recognize that there is something that can evolve, something can change, we empower ourselves to do that. But until we take that step and go look at ourselves and say, oh, well, there's something there that could change. I have the ability to change that. Until we do that, nothing's going to change.
yeah.
And it won't change on the outside either.
No, it won't change on the outside. And I agree with you. And that's funny that you should be talking about change now. We've moved on to that subject, but that's great that you are, because it is the ability to change from a certain age. So, you
Absolutely.
know, when we look at children, they can change. They're in momentum. It's like laugh, cry, and scream within 5 minutes. Yay. But with us, we hold on to that old, yucky old behavior that holds us back from the true beauty that is ours, you know, that true newness. The
Mm,
newness means we have to take some new steps and try a new pattern. Try means
yeah.
feel uncomfortable in the beginning, doesn't it? Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. I think, again, how many people do I meet who say to me, it's my character. It's because I'm British. It's because I'm a German or French. It's my character. I was born with it. And in that, implicit in that is the idea that I can't change. It's who I am. And everything I've written, when we go back to the book, Why Are We Here? The answer to that really is to explore this idea of me. This idea of me, this idea of this constant me that we have in our mind. I am British, and I was brought up to be this, and I was brought up to be that, and these are my values. And none of that is true. None of that is real. It is a creation. And so a lot of what I teach and a lot of what I see in other people is just this idea of every thought that you have in your head is just a passing thing. It's something that's been programmed into your mind. It just pops up. So yeah, I totally agree with you that this idea of change, of letting go and evolving is the barrier to everybody's happiness. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. No, that's wonderful. That's very wonderful. Michael, and how can people get that book?
That's available from my website, www.michaelpaulstevens.com. So
Okay.
that's available for free download. All of my books on there that are published in e-format are available for free. And there's also more stylized or ones for Kindle and the phones that are £3. So they're pretty cheap.
Okay, well that's wonderful, because that sounds wonderful to really reconnect with yourself through that book as well.
Yeah, it's helpful, and the idea for me is that it's just I read it, I still read it and go, wow, I mean that's awesome, it's awesome, but that's the reality that I perceive. And when you have that foundation in your reality, you see it not just get up, go to work, come back home, feed the kids, go to bed every day, and in processes, and you see that behind all that there's something going on.
Yeah.
Something more than we're led to believe. It's not just about money, and it's not just about status. There's something else.
Mm.
When you have that at the root of your belief system,
Yeah.
and you see that marvel in everything, I think that changes how you behave. I really do.
Yeah, and that change, you mean like your perspective change? You have a realization, ping, you get that realization, and that's what I'm hearing. Just when you just said, when you read the book again, and I was like, yeah, that's what it's about as well, Michael. It's like you read it once, and then you read it another time to pick up another realization, something else, right? You know, that's what starts to happen as we stimulate that newness, right? That growth, right?
Absolutely. And as you know, doing that, what we produce on this earth is not ours. It doesn't belong to us. It comes from ages past, and it comes from other sources, a lot of it. So I don't look at what I write on a page as being my writing. I see it as being this confluence, this aggregate of my experience on this earth, but all of the other influences that I've had, spiritual, physical, mental, they all come together. And so when you read it back, you're in a different place. And so you're reading it from a different perspective. You're seeing parts and you wonder, where did that come from? Why did I write that? How did I say that? What does that mean? And it means something different the second time you read it. So to have this complacency that everything is true or false, good or bad, right or wrong, is not true. When we reread something and see it again, we see different aspects, and we continue learning from it if we're open to that process. Again, the process of change, isn't it? Being open to that, being able to see it, and looking for it every moment and in everything.
Mm, thank you. That's wonderful, Michael. So I have another question, and that is, at this point in your life, when you reflect back, what stands out as a life-changing time that had, an impact on your life now? Still has an impact on your life now.
There was more than one time, to be honest. They're very difficult to separate, so I'll try and keep them short. The first one was 1990. I went to India, and I rocked up to this backpacker place in New Delhi, and one of the first person I met there was a German guy called Jörg Seidler. I still remember his name, I remember his face, everything about him. And he started talking to me about Buddhism. And I went to India basically with this idea in my mind that I was looking for truth, looking for the idea of truth, that I could find truth, I'd find something that was true, real, that was observable, that I could connect with. And all my answers, all of my why am I here question would be answered. Fantastic, right? And then I learned Buddhism, and the first thing that stuck in my mind from that, which is why I'm mentioning it now, is this idea of transience, of everything changes constantly. There's no truth. So that was like, boom. It was like, wow, okay, I've gone looking for truth and there's no truth, because everything is changing, including ourselves, including ideas, including, there's no permanence. And so this blew my mind. So this was a life-changing moment for me. I ended up going to a 30-day Buddhist retreat, being a terrible practitioner, doing about 15 days and dropping out. But it stayed with me. And since then, I've kept up practice intermittently until now. And it was just such a profound impact on my life. The second time was down in Phuket with you guys when I came down there. I was trying to work out when that was. I think 2004, something like that, 2003. I was down there maybe for a year. And you and Jason and Roger, Rhonda, and all of those people that were down there, was just this incredible melting pot of spirit, of spiritual people, of people who are really switched on, and everybody doing something different. Everybody was doing something in their own way, which was amazing, really, because there was no conflict about it. Everybody just got on and did their thing. And you taught me Reiki. You were my first Reiki master. So that changed my life, just because I didn't believe that healing with hands was possible for someone like me. I didn't believe I had that talent. And now from learning it from you, and then learning it again through Roger, and then learning it again through you after that, so I've had 3 masters. Yeah, I keep learning it. I've realized that anybody can do it, and this whole idea again of somebody spiritual is rubbish. Absolutely, it's absolute baloney. It's absolute rubbish. That everybody is in denial of some shape or form of their true identity, because they think that the suppression of that identity is what will make life work for them. So they can be aggressive in business, or they can be single-minded towards their goals, or they can be, competitive, or whatever it is they need to be successful. But for me, when we were down there and we saw that, yeah, there was a little bit of competition, there was a little bit of conflict, but we got over it. And it was this melting pot of difference in Phuket that made it so brilliant. And every day was an adventure, every day was fun. And that just was profound, really profound for me. And the third point I wanted to bring up was it's actually now. I think now is one of the most amazing times in my life, just because all of that stuff has come together. And I want to say to people that there's no one moment. There's no one moment you can say, this is it. I'm there now. Every time is this rise to a plateau where you enjoy the view and you kind of go, wow, that's awesome. And then there's more. And then you get to a plateau and then you go, and then there's more. So right now I can see so many of these threads coming together from India, from Phuket, from all of these other events happening. And because I've practiced for quite a while now, I see the threads and I accept the threads coming together and enjoy this moment that I'm having now of change and evolution and seeing the awesomeness of how things really do work out. So now is one of those times for me doing it, if I'm honest.
Well, that's fantastic. I love it.
Great.
Yeah. What I'm going to do now is we're going to stop this right now, and I'm going to come back on again so I can keep this separate. The next part
Sure.
that's coming up, the 5 essential tools.
Yeah.
So thank you, Michael. That was awesome. It was just so great to share energy with you. You're just an amazing human being.
It's great to talk.
And, you can find Michael on his Facebook page, The Teachings of Michael Paul Stevens, and his website as well. And I will put that in the little blurb on the bottom. So we'll go off and we'll come back in. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Amazing.
Bye.